Happy Sunday morning, boys and girls. It's your old pal, Andy France, the Grand Poobah of Judson Sunday School. Welcome back to another episode of Virtual Judson Sunday School. Hey, let's play some whack-a-mole. Do you know what whack-a-mole is? Well, first of all, do you know what a mole is? And I'm not talking about that little bump on your body, wherever it might be. A mole is that furry little creature that likes to dig up backyards and gardens and things like that. Whack-a-mole that we have right here is a popular arcade game in which you take a mallet or a hammer and you drive these moles back into the ground. They pop up for some games. In our game, they're going to light up. This game is supposed to be great for your hand-eye coordination, but I just like to whack things, so let's give it a try, shall we? I'm going to turn it on. Its lowest setting. This game has several settings. So she's asked me to choose between speed 1 and speed 2. I'm going to take speed 1 just to show you how fast speed 1 is. Here we go. Ready? Here we go. Uh-oh, I missed. Hooray for me. I managed to get through speed 1, which is pretty fast, right? So the next setting on this game is you put some coins, which we have right here, these little number 1 coins, and you drop them in the slot like that, and then you get to choose between 7 speeds. Just so we don't stay all day on this game, I'm going to go with speed 7. So let me turn it on. I'm going to drop a coin right in here like that.
Please choose speed 1.
Speed 1. Speed 2. 3. Speed 4. Speed 5. Speed 6. Or speed 7. I'm going to choose speed 7, so here we go.
7.
Ready? Go. What do you mean, uh-oh? What do you mean, uh-oh? Oh, stop with that uh-oh stuff. Oh, that's terrible, isn't it? Anyway, that'll give you a good idea how this game is played. I'm sure that these coins will probably last the first time this game is ever played by anybody, and then we won't have any more coins, but who cares? Yet another game for you to get to play if you ever come back to Judson Sunday School. Whack-a-mole is not just an arcade game. It's also an idiom or an expression people use when referring to a recurring problem. Just as soon as you think you have fixed the problem, it reappears somewhere else. In that sense, whack-a-mole can be a metaphor for many of the things that we have talked about this year in Virtual Judson Sunday School. Things like prejudice or discrimination or hate. So, for example, whether it's discrimination against African Americans, or women, or Muslims, or Hispanic immigrants, or gays and lesbians, or that new Asian hate virus we talked about a couple of weeks ago that's been spreading across our country ever since the pandemic began. Just when you think you have solved the problem of prejudice or discrimination or hate, it reappears in another form. Now, again, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about a rise in hate crimes directed at the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Recently, there has also been an increase in yet another type of hate, something known as the oldest hate. Do you have any idea what I might be referring to when I say the oldest hate? The oldest hate refers to something known as anti-Semitism. Yet another long word that barely fits on our marker board. Do you know what anti-Semitism means? Anti-Semitism is prejudice, discrimination, or hate directed at Jewish people. You can see the word Semite, or most of the word Semite, S-E-M-I-T-E, in the word anti-Semitism. Semite is a word that refers to an ethnic group to which Jewish people belong. Thus, anti-Semitism would mean anything that is anti or against Jewish people. Now, anti-Semitism is known as the oldest hate because it has been around for millennia, thousands of years. Some people might trace it all the way back to the year 70, when the city of Jerusalem was attacked and destroyed by the Roman army, sending Jews scattering all over the world. They had to leave their homes and their country and scatter all over the world. Now, considered outsiders in their new country, Jews were easy targets for anything and everything that went wrong, whether it might be disease or hunger or unemployment or war. All of these things and more were blamed on the Jews, and acts of anti-Semitism ranged from discrimination against individual Jews to pogroms or violent riots by mobs of people or police forces, or even military attacks on Jewish people and on entire Jewish communities. Anti-Semitism reached its peak in Germany with the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis during World War II. Nazis were a political party that believed in the superiority of the white race, white supremacy, and they also believed in anti-Semitism. These beliefs would eventually lead to the Holocaust, the systematic killing of some 6 million Jews, Catholics, Serbians, people who were handicapped, Roma, or people who were known as gypsies, Polish people, and gays and lesbians. Now, you might be wondering just what this World War II was all about. Well, how better to explain World War II to kids than to have a kid explain World War II?
A Kid Explains History! Hello everyone, this is Mr. Q. Today's topic is World War II. Now what is a World War? Well, a World War is literally when the whole world takes sides and then fights each other. Except for Switzerland, and Spain, and Ireland, and me, because I was born. But basically everybody else, there were two sides in the war. One was called the Axis. It was made of countries like Germany, Italy, and Japan. They wanted to take land that didn't belong to them. The other was called the Allies, which was countries like the United States, England, and the Soviet Union. In Star Wars terms, the Axis would be the Empire, the Allies would be the rebels. The Darth Vader in all of this is a man called Adolf Hitler. He was in charge of Germany and the leader of the Nazi Party. Boy, was he a scary man. He's behind me, isn't he? Ah! Oh my God! At first, it looked like the Axis was going to win. The Nazis took over almost all of Europe, including France. And Emperor Hirohito's Japan started taking over all the islands in the Pacific. The only thing that stood in the way of Germany was Winston Churchill's England. The United States and the Soviet Union weren't even in the war yet. If England had lost the Battle of Britain, it would have been good. But they didn't! The next thing that happened was Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. It made Franklin D. Roosevelt declare war, and the United States joined the Allies. The head of the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin, made a deal with Hitler to stay out of things. But when Hitler changed his mind and invaded anyway, the Soviet Union joined the Allies too. It still took a long time to beat the Nazis, and during this time, Hitler ordered his soldiers to kill millions of people. and what became known as the Holocaust, which is one of the worst things that ever happened. Eventually, a big Allied army landed in the beaches of France on an operation called D-Day, and they marched all the way to Berlin. That's Germany's capital city. Hitler wasn't just a bad man, he was also a sore loser. When he realized he lost the war, he killed himself. Japan surrendered a few months later, after the United States used a horrible new weapon on 2 of the cities, called the atomic bomb. So many people died in World War II. It was really sad. But the world we live in today is totally shaped by it. So we're lucky the Axis powers didn't win. Thank you very much for watching my first video. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more installments of A Kid Explains History. Bye!
World War II ended in 1945, so no more Nazis, no more white supremacy, no more anti-Semitism, right? Hooray! Wrong. Sadly, though the Nazis were defeated in 1945, those who espouse their beliefs of white supremacy and anti-Semitism are alive and well and living among us today. According to the Anti-Defamation League, which is an organization dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism and all kinds of hate, more than 2,100 acts of assault, vandalism, and harassment against Jews have recently been reported, which is an all-time high. After decades of hiding in the shadows, neo-Nazis, or new Nazis, and other white supremacists are emerging into the light of day. I want to show you a few pictures and have you look closely at these. Now, these first 2 pictures were taken from the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Now, let's look at this top picture. What do you see right here in the center of the picture? Do you know what this is in that flag? That's a swastika, which is the symbol of the Nazi Party during World War II. Wait a minute, I thought the Nazis were defeated in 1945. What is this knucklehead walking around Charlottesville, Virginia with a swastika flag? What else do you see in this picture and down here? These are Confederate flags. The symbol of the South, the symbol of slavery. The Civil War ended in 1865, and yet you got a bunch of characters walking around the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia, just 4 years ago with Confederate flags. And finally, in this picture, look at this moron down here. What is he dressed up as? This is a Ku Klux Klan outfit, and if you can see this KKK on the flag. Now, I thought this kind of behavior went out with Dr. Martin Luther King, but apparently it didn't. I have 2 more pictures to show you. Now, this picture was taken just this past year. It was taken in a Walmart in Marshall, Minnesota. Can you see these 2 characters? Now, the good news is they've chosen to wear a mask, a face mask, because we are in the middle of a pandemic, or we especially were last year. But the bad news is they're wearing swastika face masks in a Walmart last year in Minnesota. And finally, one more picture. This was taken just a couple of months ago in January. This took place with the Capitol riots that took place in January. This guy is carrying a Confederate flag in the middle of the Capitol of the United States. Again, a symbol of the South in the Civil War, a symbol of slavery. So, Confederates and Klansmen and Nazis, oh my. Now, the point of all of this is not to scare anyone, but to simply point out that, like our whack-a-mole game, prejudice and discrimination and hate never, ever go away. They might go underground from time to time, like those moles do, but they are always ready to pop up again and spread their vile lies. So that means that you and I must be hyper vigilant, ever ready to pick up this hammer of truth and justice and righteousness and stamp out all of this prejudice and discrimination and hate. In the words of the Secretary General of the United Nations, he just said this about a month ago. He said, "Our best tribute to those who died in the Holocaust," and I personally would add to all victims of hate crimes, "is the creation of a world of equality, justice, and dignity for all." So kids, we've got a very exciting story for you today. In 1939, at the beginning of World War II, the German army invaded the country of Poland. Victorious, they would soon round up all of the Jews living in Warsaw, the capital of Poland, and other surrounding villages, and force them to live in a small section of the city that would eventually become known as the ghetto. They built a huge brick wall around the ghetto to keep the Jews inside. And life inside the ghetto was horrible. It was overcrowded, there was disease, and there was hunger. And yet there were many Jews who fought back in the only ways they could against the Nazi army and against the Nazis' plans. They would smuggle people out of the ghetto, and they would smuggle medicine and food and weapons into the ghetto. Today's story, the protagonist in today's story, the main character telling this story, is a young girl who has managed to escape the ghetto, and she is living outside, and even though she's Jewish, she is passing or pretending to be a non-Jew, but she is doing her best to help those who are still in the ghetto. The story is based on a true event that happened in Warsaw during World War II. And the story is called The Cats in Krasinski Square. And it's by Karen Hess, and it's illustrated by Wendy Watson. So let's read it. The cats come from the cracks in the wall, the dark corners, the openings in the rubble. They know I can offer only a gentle hand, a tender voice. They have no choice but to come. They belonged once to someone. They slept on sofa cushions and ate from crystal dishes. They purred, furrowing the chests, nuzzling the chins of their beloveds. And I think you can see in this picture that this is sort of a life in the ghetto of one building. You can see the wall around it with the barbed wire on the top. I don't know if you can see this close, but we have cats running around here, and we have a couple of German soldiers there, a couple of Nazi soldiers patrolling inside the ghetto. Now they have no one to kiss their velvet heads. I whisper, I have no food to spare. The cats don't care. I can keep my fistful of bread, my watery soup, my potato. So much more than my friend Michael gets behind the wall of the ghetto. The cats don't need me feeding them. They get by nicely on mice. I look like any child playing with cats in the daylight in Warsaw. My Jewish armband burned with the rags I wore when I escaped the ghetto. I wear my Polish look. I walk my Polish walk. Polish words float from my lips, and I am almost safe, almost invisible, moving through Krasinski Square past the dizzy girls riding the merry-go-round. And I think these pictures are great to show you the difference between the ghetto here, behind the brick wall and the barbed wire, and life going on as normal for other people in the park including the merry-go-round here. Let me see if I can get these pages to turn. My brave sister, Mira, all that is left of our family, my brave sister tells me the plan, the newest plan, to smuggle food inside the ghetto. Her friends will come on the train, carrying satchels filled not with clothes or books, but bread, groats, and sugar. Groats are a kind of grain to make something sort of like a porridge. I know the openings in the wall. The cats have taught me. I show Mira on a map her friend Eric has drawn. Every crack will be filled with food, Mira says, bringing our thin soup to simmer on the ring. I asked to smuggle the bread through the spot near Krasinski Square, where Michael lives on the other side of the wall. Mira knows the danger, but she nods. I fall back onto the mattress, and the big room dances with light. But on the day when the train is already rolling toward Warsaw, Eric, breathless, bursts into our room and says the Gestapo, the German secret police, knows of the train and the satchels, and they'll be waiting at the station with their dogs to sniff out the smugglers. The look that passes between Eric and Mira frightens me more than a knock on the door in the night. I cannot remain inside. Instead, I wear my Polish look. I walk my Polish walk. Polish words float from my lips as I move through Krasinski Square, singing a nonsense song. The cats come from the cracks in the wall, the dark corners, the openings in the rubble. And I know what we must do. We gather the cats, one by one. Mira and Eric, Henrik and Marek, Hannah and Anna, Tosha and Stasha. We gather the cats into baskets. And head to the station where we spread out, waiting for the train behind the Gestapo and their straining, snarling dogs. Suddenly, steam and the scream of the whistle. The train pulls in. Passengers stream off. The dogs are set loose. Their sharp barks echo through the station. They fly toward the men and women, the girls and boys, with the strong scent of bread, groats, and sugar about them. But before the dogs can reach their prey, we open our baskets and let the cats loose. The station explodes into chaos as frenzied dogs turn their wild hunger on the cats who flee in every direction, slipping through cracks into dark corners between openings. Isn't this a great couple of pictures with the Nazi soldiers falling with their dogs pulling them and the cats escaping? The smuggled food vanishes from the station, vanishes from our side of Warsaw, through the wall, over the wall, under the wall, into the ghetto, including my basket with a loaf of bread for Michael, taken by grateful hands. And the music from the merry-go-round floats in the air, rising, tinsel bright above Krasinski Square. The cats in Krasinski Square. Well, it looks like we've done it again, boys and girls. We've somehow managed to get through yet another episode of Virtual Judson Sunday School. Just a couple of quick announcements before we say our thank yous and goodbye. First of all, Sebastian, thank you so much for this picture. I love it. Apparently the word got out that I hadn't been feeling good over the past 7 weeks, I think it's been, but I'm turning the corner. I'm starting to feel much better, and this picture was great. It's got me in a bed with a thermometer, I think, sticking out of my mask, or out of my mouth, and apparently a volcano spewing, symbolizing just how sick I really was. But anyway, thank you, Sebastian. I appreciate this. Second, hey, everybody, have you made your Tom Waits videos yet? If not, do me a favor and please, please, please go to YouTube, type in Judson Memorial Church Sunday School, May 2nd, 2021 in the search bar, and then you can fast forward to, I think it's about 28 and a half minutes into the episode where I am singing Tom Waits' song, Little Trip to Heaven. Parents, you can then start filming your beautiful children singing along with me, and you may get in the video yourself if you feel like singing. And then please send those videos to me at Andrew Frantz, Frantz, the number 1, at gmail.com. And I will thank you so much for that. Also, I have asked for still pictures. You know how I always take pictures of you kids throughout the course of a school year, and we have them on bulletin boards up here. What we're hoping to do is have you send me, half a dozen pictures of yourself taken throughout the course of this year. And then we will put together some sort of video montage with the pictures during the Kids' Day service on June 13th. The deadline for your pictures and your videos is Memorial Day, which is Monday, May 31st, which means we are about 2 weeks away from the deadline. So you need to get started, and please do an old Grand Poobah a favor and don't wait for the last minute if you don't mind. All right? Good. And with that, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank Andre and Goff today, filling in for Michelle on the sound. I thank them both for all their help putting this episode together. I want to thank you for being with me today as well. Until we get together again next week, I hope that you will stay safe. We're finally turning the corner. I heard good news about masks today. So stay safe. Keep a place for Judson in your heart. It's waiting on you, believe me. And I'll see you next time on Virtual Judson Sunday School. Bye.